Hi there, my name is Nidhi and I am also known as Typewriter Mom. And this is going to be my review of the book Black Milk by Elif Shafak. Alright, I'll get straight into the review without any preamble. This book is called Black Milk, and it is about the conflicting demands of motherhood, creativity, and the demands of writing. And this book really spoke to me because, or rather, when I saw the book, I was really attracted to it because this is at the end of the day something I face every single day. Being a mother and a writer, it's really, they call it a balancing act, but it's much more than a balancing act. It's like your brains are scrambled and you have all these ambitions and desires as a creative person and a writer, but there are so many demands on your time. There are so many little people who want you to pay attention to them. Anyway, let me not go on about myself. Let me dive in straight to the book. So, um, this book, according to Elif Shafak, who, as many of you would know, is a best-selling author. She has written books like The Bastard of Istanbul and The 40 Rules of Love and many others. So she's a really well-renowned author. You'll find her books on almost at every airport, right? It's very difficult that you would have missed her anywhere. Okay, forgive me, I'm a bit nervous. This is my first YouTube video. Anyway, so this book held a lot of promise to me, for me, and which is why I'm going to review it. So the way Elif starts this book is by saying that she's going to divide it into two things, which is it's called the Valley of Babies, and the second part would be the Forest of Books, right? And interestingly enough, this book doesn't have a table of contents. So when you open the book, there is really no table of contents. It just starts off with an introduction and then she just goes on straight face first into the matter. So it's a little bit, you don't really know how she's going to take it. So as the book progresses, she does start with her own story. She talks about when she was not married and she was even contemplating the idea of a long-term relationship, let alone marriage, and why she thought that that would have an impact on her life as a writer. And then how that conflict slowly gets resolved, and then of course then she moves on into the conflicts that are imposed upon her through motherhood, right? So she uses a very interesting device to talk about how these conflicts prop up in her brain, and this is basically her inner voices. So what she's done in this book is that instead of calling them her inner voices and then saying that this is my practical voice, this is my spiritual voice, she's given them little identities. So she's given them little names like Little Miss Practical, Dame Darwish, Miss Ambitious Chekhovian. So she's been very creative in the way that she has spoken about the conflicts within herself by giving each one of these voices in her head a name and a characteristic and a personality. So that is a literary device that she's used in this book. And as you can see, it's not a very thick book. It's a very small, not a small read, but easy read. You can finish it in a day or two. And so within this book, she has really packed a lot. And which is one of the reasons I really enjoy reading this book, because even though it is autobiographical, even though she has referenced a lot of other women writers and their books, it's not a very heavy read. It's easy to read, you identify with it, and there's a lot of times that when you're reading the book, you say, oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because you do. So that is one really good characteristic about this book. It's the way that she's written it, that it makes it so much more relatable. You don't feel like she is this accomplished writer who's up there on the pedestal and what does she know about my challenges as a writer. So yeah, so that was about how she tackles the voices in her head. And like I said, throughout the book, she references women writers across ages, across times, across situations, and which is what really makes this book so insightful, because it is not just her life that you relate with, it is also all these women writers who faced different circumstances, different situations, different battles that they have fought: motherhood, singlehood, deciding to have a child, not have a child, aborting a child, disowning a child, marriage, getting married, not getting married, writing under a pseudonym, writing under a male pseudonym. And she's really brought in so much experience into this book. She talks about authors from Virginia Woolf, J.K. Rowling, Emily Dickinson, Muriel Spark, um, George Eliot, Jane Austen. The list just goes on and on and on and on. And there is really so much reference in this small book that I learned more about women's literature, through this book than I could have by reading a really heavy tome on it. That probably is says something about me as a reader. But if you are uh, beginning your journey as a writer and you really don't know these different women writers or writers from whatever genre that you're in, it always helps to have a little bit of a guidance given to you, and I think this book does that beautifully. Now, coming to the last part, and I found this interesting but not unexpected. Elif talks about her own postpartum depression and how it affected her productivity as a writer. Now, I know that talking about depression now in 2019 is not such a big deal, but I think it's important as writers who already have such low self esteem and so much self doubt, and the ones that go through the event of motherhood, to acknowledge that there are some things which happen, right? And depression is one of these things. And she has, of course, talked about her experience. Um and it's good. It's good to know that she talks about it in a way where she talks about herself being helpless. And the fact that she went on to write many more books and many more very acclaimed books, and went on to again get on the saddle as a writer, uh, is really inspiring. Even though I would have loved it if she spoke about a little bit more about what helped her get out of a depression. Although I understand that it could be a personal choice. She doesn't talk much about her husband either. So there are things which are still a little bit in the air when it comes to that bit of her motherhood journey. But other than that, I think this book is phenomenal um, for somebody who really wants to get an insider's look into a real writer's struggles with creativity and motherhood, and the demands that are made of you, even if you're just married or in a relationship, societal expectations, if you will. So I would give this book, if I were to rate it, a 4 out of a 5. Not that, my rating matters, but yeah. Anyway, this is my review of the book Black Milk by Elif Shafak. Let me know if you liked it. Tell me if you want me to do any more reviews. Tell me if you didn't like it also, but be kind. Don't use bad words. I get affected by it. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. Right? If you want me to get better, of course, comments are welcome. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, of course on YouTube. I'm Typewriter Mom everywhere. I even have a website, typewritermom.com. Thank you.